Lando Norris started the season as the title favourite. He has the best package driving the very well built MCL39, and with 7 years in Formula 1, he's more experienced than most on the grid. However, he's not leading the championship anymore after the Jeddah Grand Prix, and he's dropped to second in the standings. There are many reasons why Lando Norris is failing, which I'll point out in this video, but the biggest issue is something you might not have thought of. I'm Wimbo, here's 3 seconds to leave a like. I spend a lot of time on social media and YouTube, and people aren't kind to the friendly English chap. I complain about British bias a lot, but in the case of Lando Norris and the hate he gets it from people in his own country too. I like Lando Norris, and it wouldn't upset me if he won a title. I wouldn't be upset if Piastri or Leclerc won one either. I don't like how people pounce on Norris because his interviews make people uncomfortable, because that's what it is. We are used to sports people talking tough and ready to fight anyone or anything. And if we see a driver who's beaten down after a bad qualifying session, venting his frustration by self-deprecating a little, the whole F1 space loses his shit. We know Norris cares a little too much about what has been said, and that doesn't help him. In a way, he reminds me of Lewis Hamilton, who also does this sometimes. Lewis Hamilton also comes out with stuff like, I don't know how to drive the car anymore. Or, I need a brain transplant to learn how to drive the Ferrari car. I think the two L's in F1, Lando and Lewis, are struggling the most. And it shows in how they speak. I personally like the stoic ways of Piastri better. Or Max Verstappen's fury when things go wrong. But we have to accept, everyone is different. People think it's because he wants your sympathy, but I think it's more a case of letting out the bad feelings. He always seems chipper again the next day. Anyway, FP1 Will made a video counting all the bottle jobs this season, which is great, because I don't have to do it then. I think what people seem to forget is that this season is so incredibly competitive compared to how F1 was in the hybrid era. Lewis Hamilton could drop 4/10 in qualifying and still be 5th on the grid. Nowadays, you could be out in Q2 with a time like that. In races, the difference in speed is also minimal. So even with the fastest car, which the MCL39 is, it's not easy to fight back to a win. This causes drivers to feel way more pressure than, say, 10 years ago. And that's getting to Norris a bit. We saw him taking big risks during Q3 at the Jeddah Grand Prix, and it caused a crash after hitting the curb the wrong way. Now, I noticed a different Norris in the interviews after that incident. He wasn't as hard on himself and just said he would do everything he could to fix the error in the race. I've heard that McLaren is helping him to have him stop putting himself down so much after mistakes, which I think is a very good thing. The F1 space exploded again with memes and such, but people need to realize how hard he has to push to get a pole even in the best car. That's because young Australian Oscar Piastri is in the other car, and that guy is getting better and better. He also didn't get pole, by the way, as it was Max Verstappen who grabbed the pole position. But a very aggressive move in turn 1 and a penalty for Max Verstappen saw Piastri grab the win and the lead in the championship, where Norris only managed to get P4, and that was with Tsunoda and Gasly already out of the way due to a crash. But Mark Webber's protege didn't make any errors. Piastri seems more equipped mentally for the task of becoming a world champion, and Norris must feel that too. That's why Norris was pushing so hard, as most of the weekend it looked like the fight was between the papaya drivers. Verstappen's RB21 came alive in colder temperatures at night. So, a big problem for Norris is his team's choice to have two number 1 drivers. I think he'd be way better with Bottas beside him as wingman. At this stage, Bottas wouldn't mind that either. Anyway, the next problem seems to be that the direction of the development has moved away from how he likes to drive. F1 YouTuber Aylex had a great video explaining that Norris likes to throw the car around onto curbs to gain lap time, and the MCL39 requires a more smoother driving style. I'm not driver 61 who can analyze driving styles, so when Aylex says this is the case, I believe him. Do you guys agree that this is the case with Norris? If it's true, then Norris needs to adapt his style a bit. And he needs to learn how to do that. Seeing how he fixed his starts and his fighting skills, I'd say he can do this. He's a much more complete driver than he was last season. I don't care what you say. So, if he gets this done, and his mentality gets stronger, and he stops making mistakes, what could be in the way of his success then? Well, he's unlucky to be in F1 during the Max Verstappen era. That asshole wins everything! When Lewis Hamilton had the fastest car by a mile, he only needed to beat his teammate. He lost only once in equal machinery to a Monaco-based YouTuber named Nico Rosberg. Bottas 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0 weren't much of an issue. Unfortunately for Norris, this is not the situation he's in, which I explained earlier in the video. To beat Max Verstappen, Norris needs to be on his A game every single quali and race, which is hard if a team changes the car and you have a teammate dying to beat you, with a very dominant manager who doesn't like team shenanigans. All the good drivers on the grid are unlucky to be in their prime while Max is out there, even in a very difficult car and a crumbling team. This is Lando Norris' major problem, and it's not one I see solved very quickly. The rumours about Verstappen taking a sabbatical could be true. This is something Andrew Benson from the BBC heard from someone close to Max. In any case, if that's the case for 2026, then McLaren needs to be just as good as they are now, which is uncertain with the new regulations. It could well be that they might be rid of that pesky Dutchman to be in a car that is slower than the Mercedes. It's widely believed that Mercedes will have the strongest engine, which is okay for McLaren because they use those engines. Although the best ones are kept for their own team, of course. It's hard to predict who will come out on top of the 2026 regulations, especially with so many things still changing at the moment. In any case, having Max out of the way, theoretically, is no guarantee for success for Norris at McLaren. I honestly pity Lando Norris sometimes, because I really like him, even if he annoys me sometimes with the stuff he says. He's learning to protect himself better from the media and social media, but that takes time. In the meantime, I think we should all agree to be nicer to him. Okay? Subscribing to my channel would also be nice. Take care now. Doei doei.